How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Samach Daled, Daf 64 of Masechta Gittin. Friends, my mama just got back from Ben Gurion Airport. I just came back from Chutz La'aretz, and we have to record Babylon Talmud. And should I clean my glasses? 1 second. So I reviewed this daf on the airplane. Hopefully I did a decent enough job. Hopefully also it won't take too long because it's a little bit late and I'm a little bit tired. So let's see what we can do over here. So we can start at the Mishnah and Daf Samach Gimel with Beis. It's interesting. I still have all these bites. I'm already back in Eretz Yisrael, but I don't know. I have like all these bites. So are these like bites that I got in Chutz La'aretz? So we're going to start at the Mishnah all the way at the bottom of Daf Samach Gimel with Beis. Alright. So a woman who says to a messenger, receive my get for me. So now we need 2 pairs of witnesses. 2 witnesses to testify that she in fact did this, that she in fact directed a messenger to receive her get for her. Why my eyes bothering me? Okay. V'shnayim she'omrim b'fanenu kibel v'kara, and 2 witnesses to testify that the messenger actually received the get on her behalf and then proceeded to tear it up. The Gemara is going to ask why we have to tear it up. Fine. Afilu eina rishonim ve'eino achronim. Now you can have the same 2 witnesses testifying about her instruction as well as the receipt of the get. Or you can have one from the first pair, the second, you can have one overlapping one, and then having one, together, right? So you have 2 witnesses testify that she instructed this messenger to receive the get, and then you can have one of the witnesses from that pair testify also about the receipt of the get together with another witness. Alright, fine, very good. Says the Gemara, Itmar, it was stated, Baal Omer lefikadin v'shalish Omer legerishin mi nemon ho. If so the husband has a get written up, okay, get is all written, and he gives it to a shalish, a trusted third party. So now the husband is claiming that I just gave it to you for safekeeping, whereas the shalish says, I was sent by your wife to receive her get for her, and I just received her get on her behalf, and you're now divorced. So the husband's arguing that, no, I just gave it to you for safekeeping. The shalish is saying, you're divorced. So again, Itmar was stated, Ba'al Omer lefikadin, the husband says, look, I just gave it to you for safekeeping. V'shalish Omer legerishin, but the shalish says, no, I received this get on your wife's behalf, and you're divorced. Mi nemon, who's believed. Rav Huna Amar Baal nemon, Rav Chizda Amar Shalish nemon. So Rav Huna says it's the husband who's believed, and they're not divorced. Rav Chizda says that it is the shalish who's believed, the third party is believed, and they are divorced. Rav Huna Amar Baal nemon, Rav Huna says that the husband is believed. Dem isa de legerishin yaiva niale ledido. What? Tim isa delegation yaiva niale ledida ava Yosef lo niala. That I believe is how to read it. Now there's an important detail here that Rashi says on the last of the wider lines of Rashi. He says V'aish v'aisha yochad ba'ir, that the man and the woman, the husband and the wife, are both in the same city. So let's read that again. So Rav Huna Amar says Rav Huna Baal nemon. The Baal is believed, the husband is believed that he gave it to the shalish for safekeeping, but not as to divorce his wife. Dim isa delegation you have niale, because if he did give the get to the shalish, to the third party, as a divorce document, ledida have yoiv lo niala, he could have just gone to her and given it to her directly. So therefore, argues Rav Huna from the fact that the husband didn't directly give it to his wife, and instead he gave it to the third party. We can trust the husband's account that he gave it to the third party simply for safekeeping. Rav Chizda Amar Shalish Nemon, whereas Rav Chizda says that the third party is believed and they are divorced. Teha Heimne, because after all, it is a trusted third party. The husband trusts this third party, and therefore, if he trusts him, then trust him. And if the shalish is saying that I received it in order to divorce your wife, well, we have to trust him, and they're now divorced. Masiv Reb Abba Asakasho does Baldin Kamea Edim Domi, that if you have two litigants in a case and one of the litigants admits, sort of, I guess, relinquishes his position, so that's as good as 100 witnesses. Okay, Vishalish Nemon Mishneim, and a third party is more trustworthy than both of the two litigants. If you have a third party that says something, then his claim is gold. So Keitzad, how is this? Ze omer kach v'ze omer kach. So one of the litigants says, X, and the other litigant says Y. Shalish ne'emon, and the shalish, the third party, is believed, right? That if the third party says that he was given the money to accept on somebody on one of their behalfs, so the third party is believed. So we should say the same thing over here. We should say like Rav Chizda, that it's a third party who's believed here as well when he says that he received the get on behalf of the wife. So shiny momin tisoiv the mechilo, to which the Gemara says, yeah, but you can't bring a proof from the case, from that case, because in the other case it's talking about money, and so in that case, let's say if we have Reuven and Shimon, and this third party says that he had received this money on behalf of Shimon, so Reuven can always relinquish that money anyway. He can always be mochel and say, you know what, whatever, it's Shimon's. So therefore, because he has the power to be mochel, so therefore that is why we could trust the third party there. But we can't necessarily trust the third party in the case of divorce, which isn't, right? The husband can't just say, okay, fine, I admit she's divorced if they're not divorced, right? It's Isser Veter. She actually has to be divorced. But we have a brayso that says that, and similarly for Gittin, we would trust the third party. So Gittei Mammon. Well, Gittin in this case isn't talking about Gittei Isha, it's talking about Gittei Mammon, financial documents. But we have another brayso that says V'chein l'shtaris, and similarly for documents. So if we have V'chein l'Gittin and V'chein l'shtaris, so one of them has to be financial documents, the other one has to be Gittei Noshim. Midi gabi adad litanya. To which the Gemara says, not necessarily. I mean, it's not like that there was one brisa that said v'chein l'shtaris, v'chein l'gittin, in which case one of them would have to be financial, the other one would be a divorce document. They're two separate brisas, so therefore in each brisa it could be referring to financial documents. Tanan, we learn in our Mishnah, Ha'isha she'omra hiskava li giti. If a woman says to a messenger, accept my get on my behalf, so we require two groups of witnesses. So the first group is testifying that she in fact instructed the messenger to receive the get on her behalf. And a second group of witnesses to testify that the messenger in fact received the get on her behalf and then proceeded to tear it up. Ve'amai. Why do we need witnesses at all? Lehemne l'shalish. Can't we simply just trust this third party that he in fact received the divorce document? Right? If we're saying that we trust a third party, so why do we need witnesses at all? Just trust the third party that the divorce document was received. So mika nofik gito mitu seyode dilehemne. So the Gemara says, no, you can't trust the third party in this case because he's tearing it up. And you can trust the third party, right, if the third party still had the document. So then that's one thing. But here he doesn't even have the document anymore, so he can't be believed about a document that he doesn't have, that's now torn up. Tenach omra kibel lomali. But still, I understand then why you would need witnesses to testify that she instructed the third party to receive the document. But Kibel Lamali, why should I need witnesses that the third party received the document? Granted that the document is now torn in half, but you could see that he has it. So Amr Rabbi says, Rabbi Hamani Rabbi Lazar, it's Rabbi Lazar the Amr Edi Misira Karte, that Edi Misira Karte, that regardless, it's important that you have witnesses to testify that the get was received, and therefore that's why you need witnesses about the receiving of the get. Kara Lamali, how come the third party is tearing up the document? How come he's doing that? Amar Yehuda Amar Rab B'shas Hashmad Sham. It says Yehuda in the name of Rab. Well, it's talking about a situation where there were foreign rulers who were making laws against Yidden doing mitzvahs, and it was dangerous to do mitzvahs. That's why he tore it up. Amar Rab, says Rabbi Umoda Ravuna, the Ravuna admits the Amra Ihi, that if the wife says L'didi Amr Li Shalish, that the third party had reported to her to the Gerishin Yaive Niele, that the husband had given the document to the third party with the intention of divorce, Mehemna, she is believed. Fekti Gemara though. Wait, why should she be believed? Meika Midi de Shalish Gufe Lo Memen? Ve'i Mehemna? How could it be that if we're saying that it's unclear that the third party himself is believed that he accepted the document for divorce, from the husband for divorce. Why should we believe the wife testifying that the shalish said this to her? So Ella, I Amra, if she says, Kamoy Didi Ligerushin Yaive Niale Mehemna. No, rather, if she says that I was there when the shalish received the get from my husband, and he received it, right? My husband gave it, my ex-husband gave it to the shalish, and it was received with the intent of divorce. And she's saying that she was there and she saw this, then she's believed. Migo tiboy amr lidido yaive niala baal. Because after all, if she wanted to lie, she could have just said that the husband gave it to her directly. So from the fact that she didn't just say that, which would be the more obvious thing to say, so then we can trust her that the third party had received it with the intention of divorce. Baal Omer Ligerishin, Vishalish Omer Ligerishin, Viomer is Nasan Liva Avad. So if the husband says that he gave gave the get to the third party to deliver it to her, not to receive it on her behalf, but to deliver it to her, Vishalish Omer Ligerishin, and the shalish says that he delivered it to her. Vehi Omer is Nasan Liva Avad, and she says, yes, I received it, but now it's lost. Amr Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan have a davar shebe'erva. Well, we're talking about a davar shebe'erva. We're talking about, right, Eishes Ish. Ve'en davar shebe'erva pachos mishnayim. We'd have to have two witnesses to testify that she in fact received her get. Ve'amai, how come we need two witnesses? Ve'lehemne l'shalish. Why don't we just trust the third party? But yeah, we can't trust the third party because the get is lost, right? You can't trust the third party to testify about a document that we don't know where it is. Right? So, does he currently have the get that we can trust him? But why don't we trust the husband? The Amr Rav Chiya bar Oven, Amr Rabbi Yochanan, that if a husband says, I divorced my wife, he's believed. Mika gerashti. But Mika Amr gerashti, yeah, but the thing is, he's not saying over here that he divorced his wife, he's saying over here that he gave the document to a shaliach. But in general, we have a chazaka that a messenger does what he was sent to do. And therefore, if we can trust that a messenger did in fact do what he was sent to do, so why can't we trust that the husband gave the messenger to the get to the shaliach, and the shaliach did what he was meant to do, and therefore she's divorced? That if a fellow says to a messenger, I want you to go and betroth a woman for me, and then his shaliach died, he can't marry anybody, because we assume that the shaliach did what he was sent to do, and therefore we assume that he was makadesh a woman for him. But then the shaliach died and we don't know who he was mekadesh, so he can't get married anymore because maybe the person who he's going to marry is a relative of the person who his shaliach was mekadesh. So we see that a shaliach, we can assume that the shaliach did what he was sent to do. Hanimile lechumra. That is, has a stringency, right? Meaning, because we're assuming that the shaliach, if we assume that the shaliach did what he was sent to do, that means that because of that, he can't get married to anybody. That's a chumrah. Avalikula, lo. But we wouldn't say that to be lenient, to assume that the shaliach delivered the get to the wife and now they're divorced. But still, why don't we simply trust her? That, right? She said that she got divorced, she received the get, and then it got lost. Why can't we just trust her? Based on Rav Hamnuna, the Amar of Hamnuna, that if a woman says to her husband, "You divorced me," she's believed. Because we assume that a woman wouldn't be so brazen as to say in her husband's presence, "You divorced me," if it wasn't really true. But to which we say, yeah, but that wouldn't hold true in this case, because in this case we're talking about where the husband and the shalish are also supporting her claim. Therefore, she might feel emboldened and empowered even if it was untrue. Right? So when we say that a woman would not be brazen to in the presence of her husband claim to have been divorced even though it's not true, that's because she doesn't have anybody supporting her. And if she's saying it, then we can assume that it is true. But over here, where we have other people supporting her claim that she received it, that she received her get, then we cannot simply trust her because maybe it is untrue, but she's feeling empowered and emboldened by the people who are supporting her story. Okay? And now, we get up to a new Mishnah. So if you have a betrothed naira, and then, so a woman who's engaged, who's mekudeshes, even if there was no nisuin yet, still needs a get to break that up. So naira morasa hiva avia mekablan eskita. Either she or her father can receive her get. Amr Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda ein shtei yodaim zochis ka'achas. Says Rabbi Yehuda, I'm not so into this. That either her or her father, that there's multiple people who can receive her get for her. Ela avia mekablan eskita b'vad. No, her father receives her get, not her. Once she gets married, that's a different story. Then she can receive her get. But as an Naira Morasa, her father receives her get according to Yehuda. And any girl who's unable to guard her get cannot get divorced. Meaning, like a katana who's unable to guard and take care of her get. So then she would be unable to get divorced, and that is because. I believe that's because in order to get divorced, there has to be, so it says v'shilcha mibeso. It has to be some level of like understanding that she understands that she's getting divorced and she's not coming back to her husband, right? And I think if she doesn't, she's not at an age where she's able to understand that she needs to guard her get. So then I believe we assume that she's incapable of actually getting divorced. But my kamiflige, what's an afkamina? Asks the Gemara between the Rabbanon and Rabbi Yehuda, who say that that the rabbis say that by Naira Morasa either her or her father could receive her get. Rabbi Yehuda says only her father can receive the get. So Rabbanon Save Yoda Yiserta Zochilo Rachmano, that the rabbis say, look, in the case of Naira Morasa, the Torah says that there's an additional person who can receive her get. Rabbi Yehuda Save B'makom Avia Yad Dila Lav Klumhi. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda says, no, if her father is in the parsha, right? That if her father would be able to receive the get, so then only the father can receive the get, and she does her role here is irrelevant. So a girl who's unable to guard her get cannot get divorced. So a kitana who knows to guard her get can get divorced. Now, if she doesn't know to guard her get, well, then she can't affect the divorce. Who is a kitana who knows how to guard her get? If she guards her get and some other thing. My Omer, what does that mean? So if you give her a get, and then if it gets lost, and then she takes something completely different, I don't know, like a rock, and she thinks that that's her get. So then, Maskifla Rafuna Bar Manoach. Rafuna Bar Manoach says, I don't understand. Ashota ba'amli. What do you mean? If she doesn't know the difference between a divorce document and a stone and a pebble, so why? How could I don't understand why she'd be able to get divorced? She's basically a shota. No, if she dafka can differentiate and distinguish between a bill of divorce and a pebble, for example. Omer Rav Yehuda, Omer Rav Asi, Tzror v'zarko, egos v'nodo. If you give a pebble to a young fellow and he throws it away, he's not interested in it. Egos v'nodo, but you give him a nut. I think the point is like, basically like candy. You give him, a treat, and he takes it. Zoch la'atzma v'en zoch la'achem. So he's demonstrated that he can accept things for himself, but not for other people. But if you give him an object and he returns it back to you, or he's capable of returning it back to you after an hour, then he can accept things on his behalf, or he can even accept things on behalf of others. Now says Rav Yehuda, when I said this before Shmuel, he said to me, Davido achas, they're both the same. My Davido achas, what does it mean they're both the same? Rav Chizda says, Rav Chizda echad zeh vechad zeh, zoch la'atzmo ve'ein zoch la'acherim. That in all of these examples, right, whether he accepts it for himself, or, whether it's a pebble or a nut, or if he's able to give something back after an hour, in all of these cases, he can receive something on his own behalf, but not on behalf of others. Most of Rav Chinina Vardon, Rav Chinina Vardon asked the kasha, Ketzad mishtatvin b'mavui. How do we do shitufei mavos? Remember way back when, Masechta Eruvin, right? You have a few chutzers that open up into a mavui, and they want to be able to carry in the mavui, so they take a barrel of wine, they put it in one of the chutzers, and then so maniach es achovis. So you put somebody from one of the chutzers takes a barrel of wine and he puts it down in one of the chutzers. And he says, "Harezo l'chol mavui." This barrel of wine is for all of the people in the mavui. And then he gives the barrel of wine to his son or his adult son or his adult daughter. His adult son or his adult daughter, and they receive it on behalf of all the people. Or even his Eved Ivri or his Shifcha Ama Ivriya can accept it. So now, Hai Shifcha Echidami. So we're saying that his Shifcha, his Jewish Shifcha, can receive this wine on behalf of all the people. Now, tell me more about the Shifcha. How old is she? If she's already reached puberty, well then my boya gabe, then she would no longer be your shifcha, because an amma ivriya goes free by shtei cyrus. So it must be that she has not yet reached puberty. Is she still a katanu? And yet we're saying that she will receive it on behalf of others. So it sounds like a katana can receive things on behalf of others. Shani shutufei mivos derabbanan. To which they answer Rav Chinina Vardon's question. They say, look, shitufei mivos is derabbanan, therefore that's why the katana can receive it. Omer Rav Chizda ishtik Vardon, and Rav Chizda says that Rav Chinina Vardon was stumped. Why shouldn't he have been stumped? What was he supposed to reply to that? Well, he could have replied, but I don't care that shitufei mivos is derabanan. Any din derabanan ke'ein doraisa takun. But these dinim derabanan are true. Essentially, for all intents and purposes, we have to treat the same way that we treat dinim doraisa. And if a katana cannot receive something on behalf of others by things that are doraisa, so then even by something derabanan, she should be unable to receive something on behalf of others. But you can respond to that. Ki aminon kol dutakun rabbanon kin doraisa takun b'milsa de isla ikr me'ator. When we say kol dutakun rabbanon kin doraisa takun, that's something that has, at least its basis in the Torah. Aval milsa delays la ikrim in the Torah lo, but something that doesn't have a basis in the Torah, no. So shitu. So how can we do shitu from mivos? Because we don't want people to carry from Rishus HaYochid to Rishus HaRabim. But really, when it comes to carrying on Shabbos, the issue is really just from Rishus HaYochid to Rishus HaRabim. Over here, we're talking about not even being able to carry in a mavui, which is a Rishus HaYochid. So that there's no basis for that min Torah. So therefore, we wouldn't say kol takun rabbanan ken daraisa takun, and therefore we could say, and that's why we say that she can receive the wine on behalf of others by this din d'Rabbanan. Mosif of Avya asakash marimin ala mais al meiser sheni. We can be tricky. We're allowed to be tricky when it comes to meiser sheni. What does that mean? Well, what it means is that, of course, we know about meiser sheni, right? You have a field, you separate truma, you separate meiser rishon, and then on years 1, 2, 4, and 5, you separate meiser sheni, which is an additional 10%. And what you separate, you bring to Jerusalem and you eat it there. Alternatively, you can transfer its kedusha onto money and bring that money to Jerusalem and spend that on food there. Now, the thing is, if you do this, it's called, right, being podeh the meiser sheni. If you redeem the meiser sheni onto money, you have to add a chomesh, a fifth, which I think is practically speaking 25%. So you have to add this chomesh. But if you don't want to add the chomesh, you're allowed to do the following workaround, which is have somebody else be podeh for you. If a fellow is podeh somebody else's meiser sheni, he doesn't need to add the chomesh. He just transfers the kedusha onto just the face value of the money. So now says the Gemara, my rimin al meiser sheni, you can be sneaky, you can be tricky when it comes to meiser sheni. Keitzad, how so? So a fellow can say to his adult son or his adult daughter, his eved ivri, his amo ivriya, hey lechem mos, here's money, the equivalent of the meiser sheni. Hey lachem mos halalu ufdu bain meiser sheni zeh, and redeem this meiser sheni. And they're redeeming it on his behalf. So who's this Amo Ivriya who is redeeming this Meiser Sheni? If she's already reached puberty, then why is she still an Amo Ivriya? It must be that she has not yet reached puberty. She's a katana, and yet she's able to be podeh the Meiser Sheni on his behalf. So, and for the Gemara, here we're talking about Meiser, which is Bizman Hazeh. And Meiser Bizman Hazeh is only d'Rabbanan anyways. That's why she can be poded. But how could we be talking about an Amma Ivriya being poded Meiser Sheni Bizman Hazeh? There are no Amma Ivriyas Bizman Hazeh. V'atanyas, we learn in the Brisa, Ein Eved Ivri Noeg Ele Bizman Shayur V'Noeg. That in Eved Ivri, only the concept of an Eved Ivri is only when there are Yovels. If there are no longer Yovels, there's no concept of an Eved Ivri or an Amma Ivri. So rather say that she can be poded the Meiser Sheni if it was grown in an Otzit She'eno Nokov, in a pot that doesn't have any holes in it, so it's disconnected from the ground, so it's only Chayiv and Meiser Sheni midrabanan anyways, so then she can be poded that Meiser Sheni. Amar Rava, says Rava, there are 3 measures when it comes to a cotton. Tzror, v'zarko, egos, v'nodlo. If you give him a pebble and he throws it away, but if you give him a nut, he holds on to it. So zochel atzmo, vein zochel acherim, so he can accept something for himself, but not for others. Uchnegdam b'ktana, and similarly, by a ktana, miskadeshes l'meun, if she gets married, if her father is not alive, and she gets married midrabanan, so if she is not yet at this level of maturity, so then she could leave that marriage without even meun, right? It's only, anyways, would be a marriage midrabanan, and a ketana who gets married to somebody after her father passed away, so her mother or brothers marries her off, is only married midrabanan, and she would have to do meun. She just basically says, I'm not interested in being with you anymore. But if she hasn't yet reached this level where give her a rock and she throws it away, give her a nut and she keeps it, she doesn't even need me'un, she doesn't need anything at all, so you just leave this guy. Hapeutis, people are, right, these children who are a little bit older, mekon mekach, mimkar and mimkar, as we learned the other day, that they can buy and sell b'metaltalin, right, so that they can live. Uchnegdam b'ktana, And similarly, a Ketana, Mizgareshes B'Kedusha Aviyah. If her father had married her off, a Ketana married off by her father, so that's Kedusha Midoraisa. And once she's at this age of Peutis, which would be considered Peutis, which I think we said is, 6, 7, 8, 9, something like that. So Rashi said 6 or 8. So I guess, meaning because there was an opinion that 6 or 7 is for girls 6, for boys 7. Another opinion was 7 or 8. So for girls 7, for girls 8. Wait, no, there was 6 or 7 or 8 or 9. So for girls it would be 8, boys it would be 9. Okay, so then she would be able to, at this age, be able to get divorced even from a Deoraisa marriage. Once already she's at the sort of time frame for Nedarim, right? So a Bas Mitzvah is a girl who's 12. So already in the 11th year, from the age of 11, is what's called Onas Nedarim, that we check to understand if she understands the neder that she made, and if so, then it's a proper neder. So Nedrei neder v'ekdesh and ekdesh, they can make nedarim, hekdesh, uchnegdem b'ktana, choletzes, v'limkor b'nichsei aviv. Wait, what? Choletzes, uchnegdem b'ktana choletzes. And similarly, a ktana at this age, if she was married and her husband died, then she would do chalitza, v'limkor b'nichsei aviv, ad she ben esrim. And in order to sell the Yerusha of somebody's father, so then they have to be 20 years old. Interesting. And I guess until that age, I guess there would be the apotropos. Alright? Friends, that was Daf Samachtal, Masechta Gittin. We learned 2 Mishnayos on today's Daf. We talked about if a fellow gives a divorce document to a third party, and then he says, but I only gave it for safeguarding. So Rafuna said we trust the husband. Chizah said that we trust the shalish. Then we got to another Mishnah that talks about Anara Ma'orasa receiving her get. We saw machlokas between Tanakama and Rabbi Yehuda. Tanakama says her or her father can receive it. Rabbi Yehuda says only the father can receive it. And then we talked about at what age a ketana would be considered to be mature enough to receive her get. Friends, that was Daf Samachtal Masechta Gittin. I hope you enjoy. Peace out.